My name is Ethan Taylor, and I used to think that love and happiness are the course of life. Nevertheless, all this happened 1 week prior to my wedding. When I was standing in the living room, the door opened abruptly, and I was motionless. Everything stood still when a feeling of an incredible moment engulfed the surrounding. And there was Hannah, my fiancée, looking terrific in a sleek black cocktail dress, wearing a string of pearls, sheer black stockings, and high heels. She was unquestionably beautiful, but somehow it did not seem right. Her eyes, which were usually full of love, now had an aspect of evasion and remoteness which I could not comprehend. With a curious tightness at my heart, I went up to her, smiling because I meant to take her in my arms as I had always done. But she has soon looked away, and her voice shook when she said, "I did not think you would be home so soon. What is happening?" I slipped up beside her and gave her a little kiss on the cheek, saying, "I only came home early to pack up some things in readiness to go on honeymoon." I had not expected such a reaction. She blushed and looked at the ground. Her voice sounded a bit uncomfortable when she answered, "You startled me." I asked her about her gorgeous look. "So where are you going so beautiful?" The suspicion started to darken my mind when she paused before answering me eventually. "I am going out somewhere." She shook her head and seemed unwilling to say more. "It is all right. I only need some time to rest." "Where to?" I pushed, trying to be calm, but fear was starting to fill me up. At last she told me after a silence, "A hotel downtown. I shall be there by myself." Her words were like a load in the air. "Alone?" "So you are?" I said again, striving to understand the reality of the situation before me. "Oh, yes, I am meeting a friend," she sighed, attempting to explain, but my uneasiness grew. "What friend is this? What are their names?" I asked her, but she made no answer, and was looking out of the window and would not meet my eyes. "I shall be out with a friend," she explained again, almost by way of a lame excuse. "Is it a man?" I said, and my voice sounded in the silence. Her color failed, and her lips quivered when she answered, "It is not so. You misunderstood." I looked at her and tried hard to control the anger that was surging up inside me. "1 week before our wedding, you go there alone, and you want me to think it is not so?" I yelled in aggravation. "She only needs time to think about everything." Her voice was weak, as though she were asking me to understand. But I could listen no more. My feelings broke forth. "The whole weekend with another man, whom you claim is just a friend, is what you want to do." There was a catch in her voice as she said, "You cannot know." I do not know how to describe it. I simply need time to work out this relationship. The anger in me rose up, and I cried, "What am I to you? What but betrayal is this relationship? Otherwise lies." I was barely able to hear what I was hearing. What was this time she needed? The idea of her and another man while we were planning to get married broke my heart. There was something in her silence more painful than words. Then I said determinedly, "You will give me his name. What is his name?" Her head went down, and she looked despairing in her eyes. And then, after a little, she whispered, "Scott. Scott Parker. He collaborates with you." Like a bolt of lightning, the name of Scott Parker came to me. Not only was he my boss, but now he was sleeping with my fiancée. Anger welled up inside me like the lashing of waves upon the shore. "My boss? That bastard? You slept with him. And he was older than me." Caroline said nothing, but stood there with her hands clasping the door handle, and her ring seeming to tell upon her guilt. I said, "You do not deserve me, Caroline." And every word was like a knife to my heart. "And with this, our wedding will never take place." I looked away and dared not look behind. She never called me after, and so abruptly our whole relationship was finished. I was not able to determine the length of time I remained in that position when I looked round to find Caroline gone, and the door was open, the outside light streaming in upon the dark room as though she had gone out, not saying a word. I was not able to go away at once. The stream of feelings inside me was incredible. A part of me ached to get away, to do something, to make these emotions go away, and another, weaker part of me wanted to keep her there, to find out why, to make her really apologize. But when she told me about her betrayal, it fell like a bomb on me. Scott Parker, the man I trusted, the man I thought of as a mentor, had been having a secret affair with her. This was a great burden to my self-esteem, an intolerable jolt. I collapsed in a chair, staring at the table on which she had left a short note. Next week I begin a new life, and I must do this before it is too late. This one sentence was like a knife in my head. The new beginning that she saw was actually betrayal in disguise. I looked at the note and struggled with the puzzlement of how she thought this would be bonding our relationship, and in what way can betrayal become a good turning point in our future? What kind of marriage can live without trust? Unanswered questions rang in my mind. I stood up, and with a deep breath tried to calm down. But when I looked at the ring on my finger, the recollection of the beautiful moments we spent together came back to me. Was all things to end thus? How could I love a person who made me suffer so much? The response was definitely resounding in me. No. I went back to the living room, where the sound of our life together still resonated. Wedding pictures we had selected, vacations we had planned, all those hopes seemed now like a malicious joke. My gaze fell on her phone, which she had left on the table as I swept my eyes across the room. It must have been hers and not belonging to any other. My hands wanted to reach it automatically, unlock the screen, and there were a stream of messages between her and Scott Parker, full of sweet words and secret plans, which broke something else in my heart. I could not believe it, and was taking in the situation in front of me. The reality could not have been clearer. Not only had Hannah betrayed me, but she had planned her betrayal all along. This was not an error. This was a deliberate move which stirred a rage in me. It was not, however, the rage of a disappointed lover I felt this time, but the rage of a man whose confidence had been forcibly trodden underfoot. The burden of this treachery was nearly more than I could bear, and my hands shook with the effort I made to remain calm. The front door opened again before I could think what to say, and Hannah came in with tears on her face. She was standing there in silence and gazing at me like a criminal before judgment. She started to beg me, "Ethan, you cannot do this." Her voice was so gentle, but there was no sincerity in it. "You cannot simply leave me alone like this. I like you, but I require time. I got to do this because then we can start over." "Start over?" I snorted and could not keep my sarcasm out. "Hannah, you have ruined everything." When she came near me, I involuntarily retreated, no longer willing to be kept playing this Beckmesser of a game. I was wrong, I understand, but I did not know what to do. "I love you," Scott said. "I must show I control this relationship. I simply wanted to be equal." I could scarce believe what rot she was talking. Stuck in such a vicious situation, I was completely opposite to everything that involved her meeting with Scott and the ridiculous excuse she gave to cover it up. And there she was standing in front of me seeking forgiveness of her sins. "You suppose I want to understand?" I was hardly able to speak. "You believe I shall forgive you because of those reasons? It is a betrayal which cannot be forgiven." I tried to leave her side by turning away, but my phone vibrated rudely. I received a message on an unknown number that read, "We need to talk. Scott is killed." These words were like a bomb to my world, and everything around me appeared to be collapsing. Everything was overshadowed by the consequences of the death of Scott. Hannah had changed her face, and her eyes were full of shock as one who had just lost everything. I muttered, I could not believe it, and my body grew weak under the burden of this fresh tragedy. And all this disturbance about a single individual, and now we had a catastrophe. Hannah was standing there, and speechless, as though no more explanation were necessary. The quietness surrounded us, and I could not go on living in the shadow of the past. The death of Scott had changed all. I can do nothing anymore, I stammered, and my voice shook. I seemed to have been dropped into a bottomless pit. I tried to force myself to think about the concept of death and permanence of decisions. Hannah moved nearer, her hands shake, tears fill her eyes. I don't know what to do about it, Ethan. I do not want anyone to die over this, but I cannot live without solving my feelings. I purchased his Ventolin inhaler online. You have not only betrayed me, but you have also betrayed what we had created together. All my confidence in you. What do you want now? Do you want me to forgive you? Hannah sat quiet with eyes full of unsaid words. This was too late. Words could not mend this. Scott was missing, and my life was ruined. I looked another way, not wishing to look at her. I went back to my office, where I frequently went when I wanted to be alone. My leaden body was appropriate to my scrappy brain. Had vanished all the dreams and the plans of happy life with her. My phone vibrated, then it was a call with an unknown number. It was the police force. I replied with a dry mouth and a shaking hand. Ethan, we have to speak to you. The officer's gruff voice came through my haze of despair. We got information concerning the case of Scott Parker. His wife, Loretta, is arrested. Loretta, I repeated, with a confused voice. Scott? She killed him? Yes, she did. She repeatedly shot him. We would like you to report to the station to give information. The words of the officer had almost resembled a shock of electricity to me. Loretta, a person I never thought would be involved, was the reason behind the death of Scott. How had it all gone so wrong? I jumped up and stammered, tongue-tied. I could not any longer be in this place. I must get away. I did not even know where to go. I only knew I had to leave. The police desired my knowledge, when all I could remember was how everything had gone bad. When I reported to the station, I met a middle-aged officer whose chilling eyes implied that he had seen too much pain. I sat opposite him, and there was silence in the room. The officer started, We have found out that Loretta was aware of the affair of her husband. Somebody at the company sent her an anonymous letter telling her about the secret meetings between Scott and Hannah. Enraged, she went to extremity. So, Loretta killed Scott on account of this? I inquired, but I knew the reply. The cop nodded his head. Yes. When she discovered it, she challenged him, got ready a gun, and did it in the sudden emotion. The living room was a terrible sight. Scott had no time to react. I got a cold chill down my back. I would not have understood how a wife could be so desperate, but then I also remembered Hannah, how she had made everything worse. The death of Scott was not only his tragedy, but also the finale of the sequence of incorrect decisions. Not only Loretta made them, but also Hannah and I. I went back home thinking about these revelations. Hannah was lost, and I had lost her utterly. However, I realized that I had to go on, to forget the past and make my own way. It was impossible to go back. I no longer loved her, yet the pain was still there, unaccountably. Being a strong-willed person, I decided to get up and find myself again. I figured that after all settling down I would feel free. However, I felt like I was in the nightmare. Time had not cured me. I still woke up in the morning with a feeling of emptiness. The world was stagnant, and I was haunted with the memories of Hannah, Scott, and the betrayals. So one day, as I was sipping my favorite coffee shop, an unusual event occurred. A woman came in with a steaming cup of coffee in her hand and her eyes searching the room. She stopped, and I knew her at once. It was Sophia, my present wife. She was standing, not knowing what to do next. We had never talked about my past, never mentioned Hannah or my problems, yet I could see in the eyes of Sophia a comprehension that went beyond explanation. "I don't know how I can be of assistance to you," Sophia said as she sat down opposite me, "but I shall be always here." I sought some comfort in her eyes. Sophia was not Hannah. I could not love her as I loved Hannah, but one thing was definite. She had never betrayed me. She had not given me the pain Hannah had. Days went by, and I started to understand that my life is not only that I had lost, but also that I had. I could not forget, but I could not live in the past as well. Sophia played a crucial role in my recovery. She never had to be a replacement of Hannah. She was just herself, and that was enough of what I needed. We were sitting at home one evening and talking about the future, our hopes and dreams, and weird peace fell upon us. "What do you think of Hannah now?" Sophia asked. I was afraid. I was past anger, experiencing just a feeling of remorse at what might have been. "And regret is all," I answered at last, looking out of the window at the sunset in the sky. "I cannot alter the past, but I can pick my future." Sophia said no more. She merely smiled and drew my hand tenderly. It was the embrace that I had been longing, not Hannah, but the woman who stood by me now. Finally, I also learned that trust is indeed the most valuable currency of any relationship. When it is broken, it is not an easy thing to put it back. However, I also understood that otherwise, living in the past, I would not have a chance to build a new future. These scars of betrayal can be very painful, yet it does not need to be the end. Life is all about resilience. Life is about falling and rising up. Every day is an opportunity to start over, to try not to repeat the old mistakes, and to open their hearts to love and trust again.